All right, Rome Odunze, one of the best wide receivers in the draft, one of the best players in the country. He's here with Snickers Ice Cream Chiller. What's going on, man?
I'm doing well, doing well. Thanks for having me.
All right, so there's a lot to get to because there's a lot of intrigue about the top of this draft, the top 10, the top half of the first round. Obviously, Washington had an incredible run last year, so a lot to unpack, but I'll start with this. So anything that surprised you about the draft process? Because we've had a lot of either ex-players, current players, and they just talk about things that pop up and you're like, ooh, I wasn't prepared for this. Anything pop up so far, I'd be like, I did not expect this to be this way.
Mm. Uh, I don't know. Maybe a lot of the waiting. Like, I mean, you were around a lot, especially during the combine and whether it's in airports when you're visiting different
Yeah.
teams. Like, there's a lot of waiting around for different things. So, I think that was a surprising part of it. I thought I would be, moving, which I am, but there is a lot of waiting involved as well.
Is there anything you can do? Like, do you play on your phone, text people, catch up with friends? Like, what do you do when you're just sitting around waiting to get weighed
Oh,
in or whatever?
no, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when I have my phone, I'm on my phone if I'm waiting or, if I'm posted up in a hotel before a visit or something, I'm on Xbox, playing games. Yeah, I find time to pass the time for sure.
I love that. One thing I love about you, I listened to a bunch of your interviews last night in preparation for this, and one thing I liked is that you're not shying away from wanting to be the best wide receiver in this class. And there's a lot of guys who come in and say, oh, it's just an honor to be grouped in with those guys, whatever the position group. And you've said you want to go and get that. I'll start here. If I'm a GM in the top 10 and I'm saying, why should you be the first wide receiver off the board? What's your pitch to me?
For me, I feel like I'm the complete package, from a football standpoint, I feel like I'm the most complete, receiver in the draft, and that's not like a safe phrasing of it. I just feel like I do a lot of different things very well on a football field when it comes to blocking, playing, inside, outside receiver, catch radius, catch contested catches, separation, releases. I feel like there's so many different aspects of my game that I do well. And then, I feel like the locker room presence that I bring and the
Yeah.
leadership that I bring to any organization I'll be a part of, as well as, my involvement within the community as well. I feel like it is second to none.
That's a great answer. I want you to take me through a play. I like kind of figuring out how guys' football minds work. The catch against Oregon, 143 left on the clock. All the actions going to the right. Michael Penix trusts you on the left. It's a jump ball, and I want to get into kind of the art of the contested catch in general after this. But take me through that play and what made that connection special.
Oh man, I think the preparation, that went into it. We had been preparing for moments like that for a year, into that moment. It even goes back to last year when Michael, first got there and the new staff first got there. We had been working towards those moments. So for him to trust me in that instance, I think both of us are type of players like we're, on any given play, just get the job done. That's kind of our mindset, regardless of what happened the play before. It's always about the next play. So in that moment, we were completely focused and ready to make it happen.
It's so hard. I mean, I know this is a terrible thing to say and reductive, but like it's easy to catch the ball when you're open. It's harder when you're adjusting for it all the time and you're doing jump balls and contested catches. What's the art of that? Because I've talked a lot about to Jamar Chase actually a lot about this about how to learn how to position your body and kind of the quarterback has to know what you're going to do and what shoulder to throw to. Take me through kind of the sixth sense you developed as far as adjusting on those contested catches.
Absolutely. I think, Jamar kind of hit the nail on the head there with that. It's definitely about, knowing how to adjust your body and then when to do it and what, you know, position your body needs to be in to be able to make an athletic, explosive movement at the catch point. I say one of the biggest things is just timing. I think contested catches are all about timing because, making sure that you're putting your hands out at a time and catching the ball when the DB, is maybe looking away or, isn't expecting it. When you do that, it allows you to, have an edge because, any DB can knock the ball out of your hands if you're waiting with your hands out, right? And that's not going to work. But when you flash your hands and you have those late hands and you're able to make those explosive movements, kind of on a snap, that puts a lot of pressure on the DB.
Anything special you remember about that Oregon play as far as laid hands, as far as that goes, as far as reading the DB that would stand out?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, I was even with him. I was pretty much even, and I seen the ball coming in, and he was still looking at me. So I knew I had the opportunity to go grab it. And I waited till like the last instance, and I knew that he was, gonna try and get his hand through my hands, when I caught the ball. So I did it at the last instance, and I kind of caught it and like spinned away, pulling the ball away from him. So that way he couldn't get his hand in there to knock it out. So I think it was a combination of those two things.
Yeah, terrific. All right. So you've been compared by a bunch of people, a couple of different comps. I heard Chris Sims the other day comp you to Davante Adams first, then Keenan Allen second. Two pretty good guys to be comp to. Obviously, two superstars who made a lot of money and won a lot of big games. Is there a guy that you study, whether it's those two guys or anybody else, where you say this is the type of guy I want to be at the NFL room?
Yeah, that's actually crazy that you say that. Those are two of the top guys that I watch film on. Yeah, Keenan Allen, definitely, and Davante Adams, 100%. I watch their game a lot. Their route running, their releases. I try and emulate some of the skills that they have into my game. So yeah, I think those are pretty spot on.
Is there any, we go through both of them. Is there anything you've picked up specifically where you're just like, okay, I can do this better because these guys do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Davante Adams' split release. He kind of comes to the line. He has that kind of basketball footwork where he's coming off. He's like kind of like a crossover. Something that I'm still working on trying to perfect. He's pretty much untouchable right now. So I'm trying to get like him, but definitely have tried to put reps in that and have used it in some games as well. But still working on getting it as clean as his for sure.
What's the process? And obviously, when talking about adjusted making adjustments in the catch and contested catches, you're obviously often going with live reps against DBs. What is it? Is it more reps against trying to find DBs somewhere to play against in the off season when you're training? Like, what's the process of getting better at that kind of technique?
I think one of the biggest thing is just making yourself uncomfortable. You can't continually do the same thing over and over to practice contested catches because each contested catch is different. You got to put your mind in, unique situations and uncomfortable situations.
Mhm.
So for me, that was using tall bags or using people swatting at my arms, different things like that while I'm trying to catch the ball that allows me to kind of just feel uncomfortable. And you can't replicate, each and every time it's going to happen in a game. But if your mind is used to being comfortable in uncomfortable situations, which is, kind of a paradox in that way, but
Mhm.
um, it's true. I think when you're able to make those adjustments in those uncomfortable situations, it allows you to continually make those plays, even though they're different every time.
Why should you bet with Caesars Sportsbook? Two words: Caesars Rewards. Every bet brings you closer to the types of benefits only Caesars can offer: hotel stays, VIP experiences, sports and concert tickets, and more. It's not just an app, it's an empire. It's interesting to me. We had Greg McElroy on our show earlier this week, and he was talking about how great players tend to have a chip on their shoulder. You're talking about quarterbacks, but I think it extends through everywhere. And some guys can find that through just reading a mean tweet and being able to do 20 extra reps because of it, or they just from something in their life where they're like, hey, this is going to keep me going forever. I know the national championship loss probably weighs on you heavily, but when you're, I know this is a big question, but like when you need to do 10 more reps or 10 more sprints or whatever, where are you pulling from?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I agree with that, but for sure. I'm not on like the Jordan level, like a player didn't hold the door for me, so I dropped 50 on him or something like that. But I think a lot of my drive just comes from, my why and my family, knowing where they come from. My family comes from humble beginnings. My pop's side of family, Nigerian immigrants, mom's side of family, farmers. So they're hardworking and they don't come from a lot. So for me, it's like anytime, I need the extra, motivation or extra reps. It's like, okay, what would they have done? What did the sacrifices they put in to have success? So I think about them a lot.
I know this is another kind of philosophical question, but I'm interested going through the draft process. Is there one thing you wish teams could measure that they can't? Like if you're trying to say like, obviously you're jumping high, you're fast, all that stuff, your measurables, your athleticism is great. Do you wish there was a way to like measure certain things? And obviously you can't measure intangibles, but going through it, what kind of things are you having to tell teams like, trust me, I can do this? They can't be measured at the combine or even on tape.
Oh man, that's a good question. And I mean, if it were fresh off the combine, I might, have something more specific. But um, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't think so. I mean, I just feel like I wish, um, I wish there was more of a consensus on like film and
Yeah,
on the the things that the people can have different opinions on. I wish it was a little bit more concrete. There's so many different statistics and different things that people pull like regarding which receiver they like because there's
right.
some stats that support one receiver, right, and then another stat that supports another, or diminishes one. So I wish it was a little bit more concrete and had more of a consensus with that. But nah, man, they evaluate you on everything.
Yep, yep, yep. Do you look at Twitter and YouTube and just look at the scouting reports? Because there's so many armchair analysts now who say, "Oh, this is my wide receiver one, this is my wide receiver two," and you can get evaluation everywhere. Do you block that out, or do you look into it?
No, I mean, I mean, I see it. I definitely see it. I mean, people mention me and I see different things on social media. And I definitely see it, but it's never anything that I'm like seeking or like going to be like, oh, what are they saying about me? And definitely not something, I'm considering on actually evaluating me as a
Right.
player. Because, I think it's, there's a lot of, like you said, Twitter warriors and experts out there that, came into that profession nobody knows how, uh, uh, but I do think it's interesting, right? I mean, perception is reality. So,
Mhm.
if that continue to be a consensus about your play, then maybe something you decide to work on or address, hopefully on the football field.
Yeah. Quick ones for you. Toughest player you played against in college. If a GM after a draft says, "Hey, we want to pick another guy," who's the toughest guy you played against where you just been nightmare to play against? Who are you picking?
I would congratulate the Chiefs because they got him, Trent McDuffie. And
Oh,
yeah, Trent McDuffie is probably the hardest player I've won against. Yeah.
wow. Okay. That segues into our next thing. It's called badasses. It's the most badass player you've ever been around in football. Now, oftentimes we talk to older NFL players who have a lot of track record and talk about some guy they played with in the league. For you, it's college or a guy you played against. The way I phrase it is, an alien comes down and says, "Take me to the most badass football player you've ever been around." Who are you taking us to?
I would probably say Roger Rosengarten, our tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, our right tackle. He's a badass for sure.
Yeah. And what makes him a badass?
Man, I just think, what he's played through, the injuries that he's played through, his mindset, when he's in the trenches, his mentality on finishing players consistently, I think is unique to him, and especially, those trench dogs that they have down there. So the adversity that he plays through, the injuries and also or the nicks and knacks, I guess. And then also just his mindset on finishing the play.
Last thing for you. Tell us something we don't know about Rome Odunze, whether that's TV, whether that's what reading, whatever it is, like a fact that we just don't know, something you're into that would surprise people.
Um, I'm really into stand-up comedy. I really
What?
like stand-up comedy. Yeah.
Like who?
Anybody, man. I mean, Kevin Hart is classic. Dave
Yeah,
Chappelle, Bill Burr, Cat Williams. I'm naming all the major ones.
yeah,
I just watched one yesterday. Oh, I love Shane Gillis new special.
sure.
Yeah, big stand-up comedy guy.
Wow. Okay, great. Yeah, I ran into Shane Gillis talking to Daniel Jones at the Super Bowl, so
Yeah,
he's an NFL fan, so you can
right.
probably hang out with him at some point.
Yeah, hopefully get some material for sure.
All right, tell us what you're doing with Snickers ice cream.
Yeah, so I'm here with Snickers ice cream, and they have this limited edition holder that they're making that you can't get in stores. It's limited edition exclusive that they have to it's just to make sure everybody enjoying their ice cream bars out there is very sure-handed because it's like my hands. It's perfect. It's kind of like this right here.
Oh
Um,
wow, we got props
See, it is.
for the
Yeah,
YouTube audience.
this is actually a perfect resemblance of my hand.
Yeah,
If perfectly.
there it is.
And yeah, so from April 18th to May 2nd, you can go to snickers.com/ ice cream chiller and get a chance to win the exclusive holder to ensure you won't drop it.
You should have gotten those hands measured at the combine.
I know. I would have been probably first overall with those.
Awesome, man. Rome Odunze, thank you so much for going. This is football, man.
Thank you.